Hi, everybody. It's Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and it just seems like yesterday we were doing this a year ago, and I'm so grateful that you're all with us. Welcome. Today we're going to have an extremely special program, and I know that's why over 200 of you are just over 200 are on the line with us today. This is fantastic. And I'm seeing lots joining from all over the state of Florida as well as all over the nation. Arizona, Kentucky, Nevada. Gosh, yay. And look at all the hearts coming up. And it's really, really a wonderful testament to today's topic, which we're going to get to really fast. But let me help ground you on who we are and why we're doing this, right? This is the Survive and Thrive Advocacy's monthly webinar. If you have not signed up to get our newsletter, please do so because every month we have programs that are just wonderful and go really in depth in the areas of sex and labor trafficking and what we can all do to be better and smarter and walk with survivors. We are an agency that provides direct care to survivors of sex and labor trafficking. I see Graciela Marquina, our community services advocate, is online now as she does this work with Misha Allen, our other advocate. We also do a lot of direct training for people. So you see, we do care management. And of course, the only way we do that is in partnership and collaboration. And if there's anything we're going to learn from today's report is how important this wide angle lens is for us to understand this issue. We really, in our area, we are both urban and rural. We do lots of work, and we're always endeavoring to go into our rural areas. And we will come to you either on Zoom or in person to do any kind of outreach. And I want to tell you, this is kind of an interesting thing I'll share with you. A lot of folks, because they know of our outreach, they think that's all we do, but we don't. We do this outreach so that people understand more and better on how human trafficking impacts our communities, what survivors truly need and want, and all of our training is in service, if you will, to the work we do to support and walk with and empower survivors. So that's why we do what we do. And we're just so blessed that at this point in our program too, after 10 years, we've probably trained over 27,000 people, which is unbelievable, but it's true. Okay, next slide. The other thing that we want you to always remember is with this program and with every webinar we do and every training program we do, we keep them on our website so you can watch them later or share with others. We've got toolkits, we've got downloadable graphics, we've got lots and lots of stuff that's free for you to use. And it's stuff that again, our website, you might know, some of you might know Jamie Rosland. Jamie is a lived experience expert. And one of the first projects we worked on with Jamie, our consultant to Stack, is she audited our entire website to make sure it was survivor friendly, that we were doing what we needed to do. And even prepping for today, I want to shout out to Yuri, and we'll introduce everyone later. But Yuri found a place on our Zoom form that we needed to just change, and we needed to fix it from saying concerned citizen to concerned community member for obvious reasons. And we can talk about that, but the input of survivors is fundamental to all we do. And you will see that on our website. Next slide, please. Yes, Madeline, thank you. This month, as it's Human Trafficking Prevention Month, we are having two big events. And if you want to scan this QR code, this will be taking place in person in Tallahassee. So those of you who are local, and I saw some folks from the law school, hello, my alma mater, are on this call. We're going to have a symposium, and you can see the details that will be absolutely unprecedented for our area. I didn't quite get it, but when we were doing our prep calls, I realized that of the 9 speakers, 5 are survivor lived experience experts, and we'll be talking about issues around sex and labor trafficking. So thank you. Carly Gordon, our admin and special project staff is on. She has also shared the link. We will be posting a Zoom link later. We don't have that up yet. We just got that today from the law school. So we really encourage you to attend this symposium in person if you can. We really, anyway, I already said that. Okay, next slide, please. And then in the evening, we are having our big fundraiser. Anybody here with a nonprofit? Because if you are understanding that times are tough for nonprofits. The unpredictability, the uncertainty, the rising costs. We're seeing an increase in our care management list of clients we're helping, and we need everybody's help. So please come to Imagine Freedom 2026 on the 29th. It's right after the symposium, so learn a lot and then come downstairs and have some food and drink. And we'll be celebrating also award winners that we are expressing our gratitude to. Next slide. The other thing, if you don't know it yet, we have a podcast. It's called Imagine Freedom. We only interview survivors, and really, I can't wait to engage more with our speakers today. This is not, and I want to say this because this is in the report, and I'm just going to almost quote a line from the report that we should not rely on trauma narratives as a primary awareness tool. We cannot rely on these trauma narratives even using the word awareness makes me cringe a bit. But that is why these podcasts are so positive, because what they say, what we hear is survivors telling us what they want us to know so we can all be smarter and we can do better. And the advocate leaders who are on these podcasts are fantastic. So if you are a podcast person, or even if this might be your first downloaded podcast, please, 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 they are evergreen and you will benefit greatly. I promise you. Next slide, please. Again, I'll say it again. We are dependent on our community, and thank you all who are donors. Thank you all who've been there for us. And yes, and I'm sorry, Victor is asking no Zoom link to the symposium. Not yet, but it will be going up next week, everybody. So stay tuned for the Zoom link and make sure you get on our newsletter list, and you'll be sure to receive it right into your inbox. But anyway, those of you so moved, please help make these webinars and our work possible by donating if you can. Next slide. Okay, so here we are, and I want to just give a little bit of background here for what we're doing. I think we've got a lot of fans of our speakers, because I am just seeing the hearts flowing like I've never seen them flow on our webinars before. And these are all for Yuri and for Samir and for Holly. So the report we're talking about today was released in December. And Samir, and I'm going to start with you, Samir, is a member of the STAC board of directors. In fact, he is our treasurer. Samir has been a guide and leader in our community on this issue and with STAC for years. We worked with you, Samir, at the very, very beginning of time when you came to our community, and it's an honor to know you and your family, and I want to thank you. Samir brought the report to our attention, and by some weird quirk, we didn't have January scheduled, and I was getting a little panicky, and I thought, what are we going to do? And I saw this, and I thought, what we need to do is we need to talk about this report. Could we possibly do that? Samir reached out to others on the council, including, leadership and Yuri and Holly, and here we are today. So Samir, I owe you a gratitude of debt. And for all of the bios, everyone, these are on our website, and you can see everybody's full bios, but I'm just going to do some highlights starting out. So you might know Samir. He is a native of India. He is he's an amazing human being, and it doesn't say this here, but you're also a great cook. Samir and his family have a local Indian food catering service. It's just wonderful. So we love your food. But beyond that, Samir has been a leader and advocate on these issues for quite some time and a leader on the U.S. Advisory Council. He is someone who has spent much of his life in the white collar professions, as he is right now, and often breaks a lot of myths when people understand how Samir came to this issue, right? Who is a survivor, because he doesn't fit a lot of the molds. So I know, Samir, you're going to talk a lot more about that, but you're a wonderful human being, and it's an honor for you to be on our board at STAC. So thank you. Let me introduce someone I've just had the honor of meeting too, Holly Gibbs. As you can see, Holly is here, and she is a system director for the Human Trafficking Response Program for a national healthcare system. So you're going to get an expert on healthcare as well. Her bio is here as well. She has written a book, Walking Prey: How America's Youth are Vulnerable to Sex Slavery. And she has received numerous awards. Holly, you're also a photographer whose work is featured in the report. So that was a delight to see that today. And please expand on your bio as well when you start talking. Yuri Guerrero is a bilingual survivor advocate, consultant, speaker. She's also a real estate agent, and every call we've had, Yuri, we've seen you in your real estate office with your signs. You are passionate about the work you do, about helping people to heal and thrive, and really, as you say in your bio, be a better version of themselves. You too, and your talents are abundant, and I will tell everybody the rapport among these three council members is tremendous. It's really been an honor to be working with you all. And so, without saying any more, I want to just let it go and turn it over to our speakers. Holly is going to be doing the sharing a screen and walking us through the report. I want you all to know that the report is on the STAC website. And we're going to put that up again. You can click on the link to the report, and I'll ask Carly to take a look online and go ahead and share that report. Holly's going to walk us through it. Everyone here today is speaking on their own. They're not speaking as a representative. This is obviously not a U.S. State Department official launch. This is something that individuals have come together to say, yeah, we want to be part of a local organization that's doing this webinar and start talking about what's in this report. So know that you can see the report and go through it and go into detail, but our experts here are going to walk us through the report. And let me also just say thank you to everyone on the U.S. Advisory Council who's contributed to this report. It is really one of the best things I've ever read on this topic, and I'm really super grateful to you all. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Holly, Yuri, and Samir. We can get going.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Yuri Guerrero. I'm a survivor, advocate, a speaker, and an immigrant. And I want to do a disclaimer first. The views of the presenters, including myself, do not represent the views of the U.S. Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, or we are not employed by the U.S. government. Okay? So we're going to learn today about the making of a decade of the commitment of the members of the U.S. Advisory Council, and I'm going to give you a little bit history about that. A little introduction. First of all, you will see in the screen, this is beautiful art that we decide as a council to put on. Is a piece of art that another survivor that is not part of the council of this particular year, she made this for us, and we want to introduce that. Her name is Charlie Quinn, and she made this beautiful piece of art especially for our report. So we want to share that we are including survivor art in our report. In page 4, you're gonna see that the United States Advisory Council on Human Trafficking was established by the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act. It was enacted in May of 2015. The council provides a formal platform for survivors of human trafficking to advise and make a recommendation on federal anti-trafficking policies to the President's Integrity Task Force to monitor and combat trafficking in persons, and also to the Senior Policy Operating Group. So everything that I'm telling you, we are encourage you that you upload the report. For you is very comprehensive. It's very comprehensive, and it explains what is the council, when it was established, all the agencies. There are at this moment 19 agencies from the government that are their job, part of their jobs is combat and fight human trafficking here in the United States. So you can see here the picture of us, of the council, of the council members of 2025 is one of picture of the honorables that we have the honor to participate to do this report. Each member of the council, we are survivors of human trafficking with different and very, very, very different experiences. As we know, human trafficking is a very complex crime, and it's a crime against humanity. So because it's a crime against humanity, and we all, if you're a human, you can be vulnerable, or somebody in your family can be vulnerable to be a victim of human trafficking. Together, we as members represent a diverse range of life experiences, backgrounds, and professional expertise. We as members are appointed by the president for 2 year terms with the option of additional term if we are appointed again. The survivors that were serving in the council, we were not defined only for our trauma, neither for our trafficking experience. We are humans. We are parents, family members, sisters, nephews, professionals, and we came from different backgrounds, culturally, economically, and at different educational levels. We are also community leaders, and we're working. Some of us, besides working in the anti-trafficking community, we have our professionals totally separate from anti-trafficking. Um, this is this is why the council is formed for a we're very, very diverse. So this strengthens our humanity, and it strengthens the council to give the best of us, to help the government with suggestions and creating these reports to fight and end human trafficking. So this in 2025, the report that you will see, this report in 2025 is a review of all the past reports, okay? The past reports is 8 reports that were created from 2016 to 2024. It was not a report created in 2018. So it's just 8 reports. And this report is the retrospective review of prior reports, highlighting the progress, the lessons learned, and the future opportunities. So I'm gonna finish my for this portion of introduction to fight human trafficking. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I think I pass it to Honorable Samir. Thank you, Samir.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you, Yuri, for giving such a introduction for our council, letting everybody know how we were created and how we work. As Honorable Yuri has mentioned, that this year in 2025 report, we did not put any new recommendation. We did a retrospection for past 10 years, and we want to highlight what all members who were part of this council in the past have worked upon it. And 10 years seems to be a very good, I would say, point where, we should reflect it. And just to highlight, Stack is also now 10 years old. Stack is also in 11th year. And one of the thing I wanted to highlight right now is that recently we attended a city council meeting where our local mayor also mentioned stack over there, and he also highlighted that this is a big business. Human trafficking is big business. Trafficking does not identify or segregate based on your color, based on your gender, based on your economic prosperity, or your immigration status, or based on your region. That trafficking right now in modern times affects everyone, each and everyone. So I would like to highlight the root causes that has been, identified in past 10 years. And I would request everybody to go through the reports, to have a look at the report or with their own set of eyes, to look at it, what we have recommended, what we have stated, so that it can make a impacting effect on the community, so that you can take back and you can even, put forward your proposal that what you think can be a future contribution to all these reports. So this particular diagram, Exhibit 1, tells you how we worked upon in all these past 10 years. It's a learning curve for us also. We cannot take up all the topics in one go. So slowly, steadily, we build on our own self. And we did learn from our predecessor. Usually, the council member are rotating, so I happen to work with old council member, and then if I go out, I would be handing over to the new council member. So this is how the work has been put forward, and a lot of learning curves are there. So in our initial year, the major was identifying the undeserved population as the key area where the trafficker prey on, what those undeserved areas, and to spread awareness. In couple of in initial years, we were more focused on awareness. Trafficking is not that everybody thinks of picking people from the street, putting them in a van. No, it doesn't happen like that. It's way modern. It's all about grooming process. It's all about somebody who identifies your vulnerability on a personal level and how they take advantage of that. So in first, like in 2016, in 2017, we were more focusing on the vulnerability communities, the undeserved population that has been affected, and how the funding is needed, what sort of funding is needed. In 2022, 2020 and 2022 period, we focused on there are various immigration benefits that is being provided to the victims who are immigrants, specifically T visa and U visa. There are other benefits like continuous presence. There was a lot of discussion on that part also. And again, we come back to root causes like racism, poverty, and just all this restrictive immigration system. How does it affect the vulnerabilities? These are also a root cause in this matter. In 2023, we did focus on systematic disparities, one of the key area that also affect trafficking issue, creates vulnerability. There are some biases within the society that is there. We need to understand that part also to handle that issue over there. Um, in 2024, we emphasize on historical ongoing injustice systems. There were operations, some of the historical fact that we tend to put under the carpet, which now has created a vulnerability around the trafficking. So we focus on that also in this part. Uh, now, if you go through all these things, I would encourage you to go. All these reports are available on Department of State website. You can download all these reports. You can go through all these reports and check in detail how this council has worked upon it. All those topics are there for you guys. Um, in this report, I basically I'm an immigrant. I came to United States on a visa, on a specialty visa. As Robin mentioned, I always worked in a white collar job. Prior to me witnessing this or getting affected by this or becoming a victim, I never thought trafficking as like, okay, it doesn't happen to me. Um, I'm not poor. I'm educated. That doesn't happen in my community or people I know. However, I ended up into the same bucket. Uh, so as I was telling you guys, trafficking does not even see whether you are rich or poor. It affects everybody. Everybody has their own vulnerability, if we do understand that. Vulnerability can be of anything. I have some distinctive vulnerability, and when I moved over here, those vulnerabilities were some different one. That's how I get affected, and then uh, I have to suffer on that. But one of the things that I learned is if I do not raise my voice, and I might have gone back to my own country and like, okay, forget the issue, or, but I thought, let me raise this voice, and I happened to highlight some of the things. In this page, if you can see, something that I mentioned over there is economic insecurity and labor trafficking. I would call myself a victim of labor trafficking. Unfortunately, labor trafficking is not recognized in many parts of our country. Many of the states do not have a single labor trafficking case, if you imagine that. Sounds untrue, but that's true. So if we see individual in impoverished region may seek better economic opportunity are forced to migrate, making vulnerable to trafficking. People from poorer area, they travel over here. I would call human smuggling, but that may end up into human trafficking also because there's a vulnerability within that community. uh, there's a limited access of education. People who are from poorer background, they might not be educated. They are majorly into blue collar job. They may not know where they are signing documents, what sort of documents is there. So there is a huge lack of awareness within the population that also affect that they can be trafficked. War and political unrest around the globe right now, which is very imminent that we see on a daily routine basis, is again a huge cause where somebody who wants to escape their home country, it becomes vulnerable, and a trafficker can use that particular vulnerability also. Industry, profits. So trafficking, why people are trafficked? Simple. Profits. People need money. Greed. Um, people, most of the industry that you have recently have seen, you know, meat processing industry, one of the example I would like to highlight, or farm industry. They need cheap labor to process your food. And where do you get the cheap labor? Get it from immigrants, and then most of the immigrants, if they do not know the local laws, they can be exploited, and that's where we have mentioned over here. There is, while working within the council and going through my own experiences, there what we witness also is there's a lack of audit system, which I mentioned is at inadequate laws and enforcement mechanism. Um, People are working, there are lack of audits, field audits are not there, surprise audits are not there. And in fact, our law enforcement authority, not just from the cop side, but there are different department, like Department of Labor have their auditor, Department of licensing, they have their own people. They're not even equipped or trained enough to identify if the person they're talking to is trafficked or not. So some of the key areas, like restaurants, hotels, they do face some sort of inspection, but it gets over the looked upon because most of the our officers are not trained to identify the trafficking thing. Uh, there are certain minorities which do experience labor trafficking across the board more than what others are. So this is where I have also mentioned over here. It's not just me who mentioned over here. We work together as a group. There are small committees which are created to focus on some of the specific subject matter expert area. So it's not individually, sorry, I'm using that word that I am me. But yes, these are some of the areas that we highlighted over here in past 10 years, how it went over. Um, One of my key area that I focus usually on is loophole in immigration practices. Uh, Most of the work I came here on a legal visa, and there are a lot of loopholes within our visa system. There are hundreds of visas, multiple visas of various types and manner, and an immigrant doesn't know what are their rights initially unless they understand it. Because somebody coming from third world country just superimpose the way things are happening in their own country. So most of the people are afraid of government. Uh, there are temporary worker visas who come to the country on H2A, H2B. There are white collar people who come to the country on H1B. There are other visas like J1 visa, transfer students. There are student visa, people who migrate through family, marriages, and then there are multiple loopholes. There are fraudulent recruitment practices usually. People tend to pay the money to a middleman and search for a greener pasture, and they sign up document. They happen to go into debt bondage, which is huge. Especially, you will see that you'll notice that particular part in Southern American countries where people, put their papers, land to a trafficker or a human smuggler to just get across the border. And due to that, debt bondage and violence, they usually remain silent. They don't even complain if something is happening to them over here, just to fear about their near and dear one, what would happen to them in their home country. Pretty much, this is, we have also seen one of the key thing is uh, unaccompanied minors who migrated through southern borders. They're also facing challenges. They are put to work. If you search, you can see some of the meat factories employing them in cleaning services. Uh, I would appreciate, multiple Department of Labor, Department of Homeland Security. They do have work. They do try to plug some of the cracks, fill up some of the cracks to avoid all of that. But still, a lot needs to be worked upon. We still need far a way to go over here. Um, Even though there are privileges that is given to a victim of trafficking under various visas, primarily T visa, which is a visa of trafficking, and then there is a U visa, which is for certain victims of crime. They also get benefits into that. But there is right now delays beyond, you know, a normal way, and you there can be years and years that you can get those benefits, and you end up being in the country without any work authorization or without any benefits such as you can work or you can own a home, and that's where their survival is very tough. There are chances of re-traumatizing, or there are chances of re-trafficking also, increases because of the huge delays. There are caps on some of the visa, like U visa. There is a cap. I think so. Last what I read was 8 years wait in U visa. T visa, there is a wait of around 1.5 year, 2 years. So in this report, we also highlighted that issue, and I would expect our federal agencies to look or work upon that because they're already a victim, and these kinds of delay also re-victimize them. Um, Beside that, we have given a couple of highlighted some of the solution that we have already expressed in our previous report, how to do audit of the visa process, how to revisit TVPA. There's one of the thing that we highlighted in our report is, if everybody know who works in this domain, so, uh, if a minor who is a victim of trafficking, sex trafficking, so there is a verbiage of they don't have to prove it, like probable force, coercion. They don't have to prove that. But on the other hand, if somebody is victim of labor trafficking and that person is minor, so they have to prove force, fraud, and coercion. And that is a huge thing. A minor cannot prove that. How would a minor prove force, fraud, coercion? They might not be educated. So it becomes very hard for them to get justice. And this has been highlighted in multiple times in 2023 report also, 2024 report also. And we are highlighting this also in 2025. We expect our congressmen, people who are higher up in authority, to please look into this matter of TVPA definition and revise that for labor trafficking.
And
Uh,
Samir, thank you. I think we need to move to the next speaker. I think
sure,
we're about
please.
time up. Is that okay? Is this a good
Yeah, that's
spot for
fine.
you?
I'm done with my section.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Samir. Yeah, that was an excellent overview of the first half of the council report that addresses root causes. The second half of the council report speaks to continuums of care, reflecting on and addressing continuums of care. So, the way that I defined a continuum of care in the report is that it refers to services provided to people before, during, and after experiences of violence and exploitation, including human trafficking. It's important to note that such services are not always available or accessible. Continuum of care services includes prevention, intervention, both crisis and immediate aftercare, and long-term care. While the continuum of care is meant to support survivors, it can also cause harm. So that's just offering an introduction to the topic of continuums of care. And in the second half of the report, we cover topics such as healthcare, which I'll be doing a deep dive on for you. We also cover disability, and we have Honorable Finesse Lepenga on as well, who covered that section on disability. If any other honorables are on, it would be great if you introduced yourself in the chat and shared what sections specifically you worked on. There's also sections on education, economic empowerment, digital communication and tools, services, and prevention. Okay, focusing on healthcare. Okay, the way we defined healthcare in this report is the provision of medical and supportive services to prevent illness, treat health conditions, and promote overall well-being. So we're not just looking at people who are in crisis. We want to ensure long-term health and wellness. It includes medical and behavioral health services delivered through systems such as hospitals, clinics, and community-based programs. For people experiencing human trafficking, healthcare is essential, not just for prevention and education, but also treatment for injuries, chronic illnesses, and mental health disorders, as well as reproductive health issues. Access to patient-centered, trauma-informed, culturally sensitive care can provide critical physical and psychological support. It can connect survivors to safety and recovery services and improve long-term health and well-being, which often gets lost in the conversation around healthcare services for victims. The World Health Organization published a scoping review of research, most of which came from the United States, showing that victims suffer short and long-term adverse health consequences from human trafficking and related circumstances. And victims and survivors often seek care from emergency departments and urgent care centers. Healthcare settings are a prime location to identify and assist victims, both acute care settings such as emergency departments, but also long-term primary care settings. But those health systems require guidance, support, and resources from federal agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services. And that HHS has done not only a lot in the healthcare space to address human trafficking, but they have responded to 10 years worth of recommendations from this council. In the last 10 years, the Council has made a series of recommendations to HHS related to the health and well-being of survivors. These recommendations reflect a shift from foundational guidance to more targeted efforts. So, for example, in the beginning, we focused on establishing comprehensive services for all survivors, developing standardized screening tools in partnership with survivors, and initiating interagency collaboration. HHS's Office on Trafficking in Persons responded to these recommendations by engaging with the council on various topics, including housing initiatives and screening protocols, laying the groundwork for more nuanced interventions. As the years progressed, the Council's recommendations became more focused on addressing the needs, health, and well-being of specific populations, including labor trafficking victims and survivors, boys and men, the LGBTQ plus population, Indigenous communities, and people with disabilities. Recommendations emphasized the protection of children and youth, including those in foster care or those who experience homelessness. And HHS responded by tailoring funding opportunities, training programs, and technical assistance to better serve these vulnerable and marginalized groups. HHS OTIP also began to develop the Anti-Trafficking Management System, or ATIMS, to capture more data and improve performance monitoring. HHS implemented efforts to support survivors, including access to medical, mental health, and substance use services. Overall, this progression reflects a deepening commitment to survivor-centered, evidence-based, and person and whole family-focused strategies in the federal response to human trafficking. So moving forward, we, the current council, recommend that federal agencies continue to implement these efforts, relaunch certain programs that have been closed, and consider how to continue implementing healthcare-specific recommendations from previous reports. And I'm going to highlight a couple of those on the next slide. All of these examples are listed in the council report as well. So working with communities and individuals in an open, respectful, and meaningful way when conducting research, increasing research and funding and programming for survivors with traumatic brain injury. That's very important, not discussed enough. Ensure accountability in law enforcement and access to justice in rural communities. Improving access to services for Alaska Native communities. Collaborating with tribes and Indigenous and rural communities to develop and implement culturally specific and language accessible prevention and protection strategies, increasing outreach to community partners to provide essential and targeted services, improving efforts to recognize and support survivors of forced criminality, and developing and implementing comprehensive strategies to address substance use and mental health coercion in various types of violence, sex trafficking, domestic violence, sexual assault, and labor trafficking. I am now going to pass it back to Honorable Yuri to continue speaking on the continuum of care and specifically on her sections.
And Holly, would you like people to, I don't have any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. I will note that people have chimed in and supported what you were saying, and including mention of a South Florida insurance program at the Center for Haitian Studies, and that there's neurodevelopmental intervention going on in some places. So know that people are echoing thanks, but I don't see any questions yet. So I guess we will move on.
Thank you again, and thank you for everybody. Thank you for sharing the resources. Please, if you have resources, feel free to put it on the chat. That way, we connect with each other and we have it handy, because this is part of that, to have it, when another survivor or another service provider is needed in different, states, location, put it there in the chat. Is very, very helpful and very, very needed. I want to say that thank you, Honorable Holly Samir, and for your presentations. And even though thank you to all the council members, even though Fairness is here, but I don't know if somebody else is here, but thank you to all of you and staff to provide this space. I want to take, and this is in the report in the page 38 about education. Education is more than the transfer of knowledge. It's a tool of power, freedom, and healing. It equips individuals and communities with the information, critical thinking, and confidence needed to challenge injustice, prevent harm, and avoid exploitation. I want to say I was trafficking since I was 10 years old until I was 30 years old. And it took me 11 years to report the crime. I didn't understand. I didn't know. Even though my trafficking experience started in Mexico, and I come from an educated family, and we were not poor per se. So when I'm trying to say that, it's just for you guys to connect with survivors. We come from all different backgrounds, and what it makes it very hard, crime, is because it's not a specific type of victim profile, and it's not a specified profile for the criminals. It can be somebody in your family, it can be somebody in your religious community, it can be in your school, it can be a stranger, it can be so many things. When you think that you heard the most horrible story, another one rises up. And that's why we continue fighting to end human trafficking. We need to continue this fight against human trafficking. So I want to say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because it's needed. So this is why education, and I want to, all of it in the report connects to me. I guess we all the honorables that were doing this work, it connects to us. I also want to make a very good point about survivors that decide not to work on the field. They are not less than us, the ones that decide to work on the field. It's very valid for survivors that do not want to work on the field. Is very valid for them to keep healing, to keep doing their lives. So much was robbed from us, and we always want to endure in different levels what happened to us. I'm still wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and remind myself that I'm in a safe place now. And sometimes when I go back, my memories sometimes go back, without myself wanting to go back to some memories. And sometimes I'm here. I survived that. It's incredible. So I wanna, when we review the education portion, I wanna say that when I exit my trafficking experience, I'm an immigrant, so I was forced. To come undocumented to this country. Okay, it was not my choice. I was forced. So it's another type of slavery. When I exit my slavery from my trafficker, and then I was in the world. I'm still a slave because I didn't know how function. The world have function, and everything um, uh, how to live this life, right? And I need to have another education. When I was in Mexico, I almost graduated from accounting, and I was not allowed for a semester to do it, why my trafficker didn't allow me. But I knew I need to have education to support myself, to have a better life. So this happened to me. Our organization, one of the organization here I'm in Texas, in the Metroplex area, I reach out to them and I say, I want to start my real estate career. I think it's something really that I have passionate for, about to helping people. I was hearing, how many people was taking advantage and all of that kind of stuff. So I want to help people, but I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to pay for the classes and all that kind of stuff. So I reached out to this organization. This organization believed in me, and they paid for my education, and they changed my life for good. Not because they believe in me. And in this world, I didn't have a lot of people to believe in me. So that's what I want to tell you. When you invest in survivors, you help us not just to keep surviving, you help us to thrive. So in the portion of education, we separated like we review it, and we were looking through all the other reports, what the other survivors were telling us. So if you see the points right there, it's education prevent trafficking, raise community awareness and empathy, and dismantle biases and myths related to the complex crime of human trafficking. Ensure service providers, law enforcement, and policy and program staff understand how to combat human trafficking in trauma and survivor-informed ways. Help survivors adapt their existing skills and acquire new ones to pursue careers that support their healing and financial independence. If we don't achieve this, we're gonna go back whatever we were practicing for several months or years. We're gonna go back to that because we need to pay bills. We need money to keep living in this world. So we just gonna say that education, prevention, and awareness in the community is still needed. It's still very needed. It never gonna needs to end. Education for service providers and federal agencies. That way, their efforts and their services go directly what survivors need to thrive, not just to put a label or saying, oh, we ask money for this program, but it never goes directly exactly to the services of the needs of the survivors. And also very important to keep partnered with survivors. I'm still looking at a lot of events that they hire and well pay people that never went through us, or they're not survivors, but for them it's budget. But when we survivors want an engagement, they don't have any, they diminish us. So we don't get paid, or they give us a gift card, just like, no, guys, please, if you are gonna invite somebody, please look for resources, to to bring that survivor that's gonna bring a live experience to your organizations. And education for survivors is super important to bring survivors to the table and help survivors to thrive. We are not saving anyone. We need to work together as a community. Uh, you know, it's need the whole community, the government, the nonprofits, and individuals to fight human trafficking. I want to say that in my experience, being so many people that I have the conversation, that they never thought somebody in their inner circle will go through this. And after a little bit, they call me back, like the daughter or the son of somebody went through this. So we need to do this. I encourage you that you bring this report to your organization. I know it's a long report, but maybe you can read, one section once a week as an organization or as a person, as a community in your free time, and learn from this. I want to close with you, I would just want to mention some of the pages. For example, in page number 55, you can see who we are on the console, and through the years, we post over there like we are 131 years of combined anti-trafficking experience. We came from about 55 states, territories of anti-trafficking work. We have 28 degrees, professional license, and certificates. Some of the survivors are published authors and recognized speakers and trainers. We also are advocates, storytellers, subject matter expert, parents, artists, friends, graduates, siblings, students, volunteers, part of the community, educators, consultants, and so on. I want to highlight also our work as a council, and I honor all the past council members. In page 56, you're going to see some of the council impact highlights, how the government, which is the work of the council and the purpose of the council, is to give advice with this report to the government advisory agencies, how we highlight some of them, and you can read which department and how our report through the years make a change on those departments. I want to highlight as well on page 57. That way you understand a little bit more how the council recommendations are developed and our vision for implementation. So what I said and the other council members and we all want to convey is a very comprehensive, and we keep working and fighting against human trafficking. I'm gonna close reading the conclusion that we have on our report in page 53. If you want to go with me in page 53, and I'm just going to read it the way that we put it. As we mark, it's page 53, as we mark a decade since the creation of the U.S. Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, we commemorate and continue to be inspired by all who fight for freedom. Thank you. All you that are here today, you are part of that. We are fighting for freedom. We honor the invaluable contributions of each council member. Those who live experience and professional expertise have shaped actionable, survivor-centered recommendations to the PITF agencies. This recommendation addresses systematic injustices and re-exploitation and promote justice, healing, and self-sufficiency for survivors. We extend our deep gratitude to federal partners for their effort to implement these changes. Human trafficking remains persistent threat in our communities, but through collaboration among government entities, community-based agencies, tribal organizations, and survivor-led organizations, we reaffirm our shared responsibility to combat this horrible crime. The Council is committed to ensure that no one else endures the horrors that we survive, and that those who, I'm sorry, and that those who do can rebuild their lives. We are humans, helping humans. Let's keep pushing forward to our fight together. In collaboration, we can create a better world, free of human trafficking for present and future generations. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Yuri, thank you so much. And thank you for reading that conclusion. We're all moved by what you said and your work and the truth. I know that when I ever hear someone expressing emotion like you have, it is because it's coming from the heart and in a place of truth with a capital T. We're so grateful to you. And if you look in the chat, you'll see many thanks. And thanks for sharing your story. And gratitude to you for your courage and bravery in doing that. And again, this speaks to the heart of what we all are trying to do, what we're doing, and what we can really strive to achieve going forward in 2026 and always. So you're amazing. Holly and Samir, thank you for sharing your deep dive, Holly, into excuse me, into healthcare, and for Samir for casting really a nice, comprehensive look at this issue.
Well, I always love to talk, and there is one thing I always have faith in. Sharing is caring, and when you share your knowledge, you increase the knowledge. There are so many blind sides to this movement that we do not, as a normal people, do not even recognize. And I was there at that part. Uh, the current times are difficult. Let me be upfront. Uh, Not just within the country, outside the country. And we have been watching all sorts of media, and we have been seeing what's happening around. Uh, our vulnerability have increased manifolds in recent days, recent times, recent days. I want everybody to be present. I want everybody to at least be empathetic towards this movement. This is not a third world country movement. I'm sorry to say that. This is more present everywhere. You might not see that. You might meet somebody who you see maybe smiling to you, talking to you, but you do not know their background story. You might be going to a hotel, maybe to a nail spa, maybe to a restaurant, talking to anybody, and they might be talking to you guys as a normal human being that you expect them or very normally, but you never know about the past stories that going on. So one thing I would emphasize is going through some of the training to really identify what human really trafficking is all about. Because if we do not know what trafficking is all about, how would we identify that? That's one of
Yeah.
the challenges that I've seen, and I have recommended Robin if we can go around and even talk about this topic in our high schools. Online is such a wonderful thing. Our kids are vulnerable as of now. You have seen so many kids going on online gamings and online platforms, social media platform. That is so much vulnerable. So we want more conversation around this topic. And sorry, but there is no holding back. They are after us, and they are someone that we don't even know that they exist. As simple
Yeah.
as that. So
Yeah.
they are the ghosts, they can appear anytime, and you become vulnerable. You don't even know your vulnerabilities, but they know. They know. So I
Traffickers.
would I would
Yes.
expect everybody to go through trainings and understand what trafficking is all about to identify it.
And I think you also stepped into answering a question, and you may not even know the question came in. So I'd like to pose this question to everyone. And Samir, if you'd like to go further, but we have a general question and we have a specific question. Moses asked, "What is the highest priority right now that we all could focus on this month?" And we could also say, while this is our month, January, we know this is like 12 months, 52 weeks, 24 hours a day effort, and we're grateful that we have this month to sort of raise the issue. But let's answer the question, for all of you, Holly, Yuri, and Samir. What should be the priority, if you were to say that? And what is your answer to this question?
I would simply say awareness. Awareness and start talking about it. It's a taboo, it's a stigma. In fact, I also at times have to hide my face, not to tell it to everyone. So I would say, please make yourself, your family, your friends, your colleagues aware about it. And if you can get training, that's my highlight on this.
And if I could add one minor thing to that, Samir, is as you become aware, please know what to do. Like, awareness without action can sometimes be more dangerous, right? So learn the national number, learn your local agencies, learn how you can get help to a survivor, how you know what to say, how you know what not to say. So that awareness is really about community education and paired with specific actions. Does that make sense?
Perfect. And I would request Honorable Jury and Honorable Holly to pitch in, please.
Sure, I can share. Honorable Samir, I agree with you. Awareness and education are key within ourselves, but also our families, our communities, and our respective work areas. There's so many misconceptions associated with human trafficking. The more we talk about it, the more we can dispel a lot of those misconceptions. But I would also add to think about what is your personal um, passion, what is your personal capacity and your skill sets. So maybe you're skilled at designing websites. Well, maybe you support someone with managing their website if they're, raising awareness or delivering education to students or serving survivors. They may need someone to support in that space as a volunteer or in a different way. But I would also add or reinforce what Honorable Yuri mentioned about you don't have to be involved in the movement to, as a survivor, you don't, or anyone, you don't have to be involved in the movement to be aware and to share information and to be educated and educate others. But sometimes what is the highest priority is your own self-care, whether you're a survivor or an ally. We have all been impacted by trauma. And so we have to recognize when we need to take the time for ourselves before we step out and help others.
Thank you for that. And Yuri, would you like to add anything in terms of what your priorities would be for us this month and forward?
Well, yeah, I just gonna echo what Honorable Samir and Holly said, be aware and it's starting your family. For example, I do it with my nieces. They don't fully understand their children, but since we were little, we're trying to, they always think they don't fully understand, even though I tell them what I do, what I go, they're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, whatever. But it seems like it's redundant, but it's not. And it's not to put, for example, in children, on young people, be fearful to live fullest to this life. But I always think, what if I knew what I know now a little bit? I will be more cautious. So starting your inner circles, and what Holly said as well, take care of yourself, of your families, and you can be involved if you want in different, just if you see training, just post it on your social media, or if you are in any capacity and maybe you want to start in your local community, bringing in your church somebody to speak. I don't know, it's different for everybody, but we all play a role to fight human trafficking. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, too. And one of the resources I'd like to share, just to your point, is Stack developed a resource to help train people in workspaces in businesses. It's an online free course that whether you're, an organization or whether you're in a for-profit or nonprofit, I just posted the stackpro.org link as a place where you can just on your own learn a little bit more. So the more you know, the better it's going to be for you and your workplace and the public and everyone around you. Um, Holly, there was another question, and it looked like you might have answered it about foster care in this system.
Yeah, so the question was under the guise of legal foster care and adoption, government agencies create and support the trafficking of families for profit. How can these agencies be held accountable to immediately end these practices that have been codified into law? So I just responded that this could be a separate topic and webinar. I have seen really beautiful stories associated with foster care and adoption, but I've also seen horror stories. So we have to ensure that we're holding all agencies accountable in protecting children and families.
Thank you. That's absolutely appropriate, perfect response there. Yes, and really to be on the just to be on the alert of wherever you could see it. There's it really can happen anywhere. I've just put another question into the chat. Anybody have any thoughts out there on things you would like the council to address? Because let's see, Yuri, I think Samir, you mentioned you're terming off soon, probably, right? And Yuri, you're coming on to the council. So I know we have great experience here with us. And the other wonderful part about the council's work that I've seen over time is how you go out into the field and you talk to a lot of people about what's important. Anybody got any thoughts? And is there anything that you all want to share about your process and how you have gotten information on your travels? Samir, you talked about going to Alaska. I have many, that was you learned a lot and you shared it, and I'm so grateful to that. But what an experience! And we do have Yes, Lynn Tepper mentions about, before I get to your process, just to react to what Holly said, that she's seen over the decades the bad side of fostering as well as the best. There have been lawsuits brought, still pending, in Pinellas County, which is St. Pete area in Florida, and a deep dive would be a good idea. Wow, that would be interesting to do, to talk about. Yeah, and so Victor's also asking, what about self-love? And I think that Yuri, maybe you talked about that a little bit too, about, and Holly, Holly did, how you take care of yourself, how you know, and as a survivor moves forward, that's got to be a priority, however you do it. You don't have to be you know, a survivor advocate with a nonprofit doing anti-trafficking work.
Well, for me personally, there's lots of ways that I practice self-care. I would love for the attendees to drop in the chat how they practice self-care. So everything from trying new mocktails. I like to test out mocktail recipes, to photography. I am in no way a professional photographer, but when I go on hikes and walks and runs, all of which is part of my self-care. I like to take pictures where I can, and I like to go places where I can get pictures. So I'm really honored that the council report included one of my photos this year. And I've just started getting into cooking. I enjoy baking. I mean, there's really just a number of things that I've tried over the past years that I wouldn't have tried in the past. So I think the first step is saying yes to new experiences and figuring out what does bring you joy.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on self-care strategies? That was a lot, Holly. You do a lot of good stuff. That sounds great. I wish we were closer and could hang out.
Yeah.
Um,
I think a lot of, I don't know, I noticed like survivors, we try to try things that we were not able to do. And no, because you cannot recover, things and years and stuff, but create new experiences of new things. And also on our healing journey, what it makes me happy, what it makes me whole today, which is family. You know what she said, I try things and then sometimes no, that's not for me anymore. Myself, I like to cook and everything, but one that really really uh, I love to sing, so that take me in another level, because it was my dream as a child, to be professional singer. I was not able to do it, so I keep, singing and stuff like that. And I guess more self-care, it has so many levels and so many, definitions for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you. And really that overarching thing of try something new is really a great one too. And then, then you can decide. So a couple more questions have come in. Is there specific data on victims or survivors with intellectual and developmental disabilities? So anybody have any information on that?
Um, I would just say one thing, since I came onto the council, my focus is to have data. And data is not just a data, no, normal data, but sanitized data, what it really means. And our data is spread along, and there are some of the areas we don't even share, means no agency shared. So there is not a common platform. And this is a very good advice that maybe we can work upon. And while I say that, this particular webinar can also become a idea collection or feedback from the society and the community what we should be doing in this year.
Mhm.
Alaska was the same trip to gather more information to really understand on the ground what really goes on. So we met tons of tribal leaders, federal officers, state officer when I was in Alaska, and it was an eye opener, to really understand the culture, the difference, and totally outbound. Like I come from seven seas apart from India, Eastern culture. Alaska culture was more like a Eastern culture that I felt. So a lot of that stuff depends, and I would say this webinar also becomes a feedback for us as a council member that what we can work upon. And collecting data, having a database that we can refer to really understand the trafficking issue is one of the key component for key takeaway for me myself. Yeah.
Thank you. And anyone else want to add to that? Holly, I note that you asked if the Honorable Finest Lapinga, who is also a member of the council, if she has any ideas on disabilities, statistics and information. And I'd also note that Stephanie has shared in the chat a study by Dr. Joan Reed, who is at the University of South Florida, where our wonderful web hosts are. Dr. Reed has also done a webinar with STAC, so we do have her speaking on this issue on the issue of trauma. But note that key findings of her work are cited in the chat here. And Finus, if you are on the line and still available, if you have any other resources you would like to post and let us know, that would be great. Okay, thank you. And anyone else want to mention to the issue of disability, intellectual and developmental disabilities? I know that in the past we have had several webinars to speak to persons with disabilities and how that might start after someone is trafficked because of the trauma and what someone goes through, as well as people really not understanding the impact of how traffickers target persons with disabilities. Thank you. And Stephanie, you're a wealth of information today. Thank you. Stephanie Anderson also chatted in more information. So yeah, so there's so much there. Thank you so much. And I'd also like to share that both our first two podcast interviewees, Liz Kimball and Christabel Robinson, survivors, spoke to this issue of disabilities as survivors with disabilities and people who have worked with others about this issue. So, Finest, thank you. I wonder we've got a couple minutes left. Would you? I don't know if Lisa, you could unmute Finest if she would like to say a couple of words. In the meantime, someone asked, do you consider trauma as a TBI, traumatic brain injury? Holly, would you like to speak to that? And we'll see, Finest, if we can unmute you for just a minute. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Finest, would you like to say a couple words about disabilities?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
I just want to say a comment about the data. And first of all, when you talk about, especially, I just want to make sure about like when you talk about like the word disability, that when folks hear about disability, they first see thoughts like, oh, physical, but they also there's different kind of disabilities. There's visible disability, also invisible disability. So there's education that we need to, improve on that. Um, and regarding the data, like literally, it's just impossible for the council to collect the data, but like through collective voices, working together with the people on the ground, including the organization who are up front line serving like victims, like start like collecting these data are like how many survivors they are saving, like for human trafficking who have disabilities like that. So that's how we find the data also by putting up a questionnaire, whatever, but that's how we collect the data, because to just like have like a council like come up with the data, it's impossible, but it's through like your organization and the allies.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you should know, and you may be seeing that Holly put this part of the report up on pages 36 and 37 that highlights what I think is probably your work because of how authoritatively you just described what's in this report. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
And Robin, I want to just mention
Yes.
that as a council, Our job is not to create the data, okay? Because
Yes.
it may confusing. Our job is to review the federal government policy and programs and do suggestions to those or bring some, but we take data from other resources. But we can suggest as a council, to the government agencies to create data, in a place. I just want to
Perfect.
mention that. Thank you.
Perfect. Yes, you cannot be all things and all to all people and do all that data collection. And yes, reaching out is the way to go. We do have a couple of little questions I want to answer very quickly. We're 1 minute out. First of all, that what is the strategy for housing and getting more funding? I would just say we're all in that boat. The Department of Health and Human Services and Office of Victims of Crime just released their notices for funding, the NOFAs. So check out that as availability. That does include housing funding and other federal government level funding. And you can also look toward your state and local governments for support. If you look toward general housing funding, a lot of pockets of this funding do segregate or like separate out and say human trafficking is a priority. So try to find those sources of funding. And somebody said Google Relo share for housing issues. Okay, Victor, thank you. Another quick question is, do you work with teen parent programs either through the public school systems or charter schools to support teen moms who've been trafficked? As a former teen parent program administrator in Florida, I was never connected with an advocacy group of any kind. Um, Here at Stack, we have worked with teen moms and programs. One of the biggest places that we've connected over the years has been with the FSU Help Project and the clinic at our law school that does do work with teen parents as well as with a local FSU program that is all about teen moms who are vulnerable. So we do that. We could always do more and do better, and we'd welcome the opportunity if you're here locally in Tallahassee to reach out. And with that, I think I'm going to have to close us out. This has been an amazing and very information packed, heartfelt information. Like I say, just so much, and I'm grateful beyond words to you all. I want to also really recommend that you all please read that report. And speaking of grant funding, use what's in it when you write your grants. If you have a need, I am going to guarantee that this council probably has tagged that need in their report. And you can cite them and footnote them and say, this is an official U.S. government body that is composed of experts who said this is a need. We're not just making it up. So know that this report is valuable on many, many levels. You all are doing tremendous work that is making our world a better place. And I thank you so much for that. It's an honor for us to partner with you. We're here for you. Please remember our little agency here in North Florida that we're going to do our best to try to reach out as much as we can and know that we're here to collaborate always. Thanks to everyone who attended. And speaking of FSU Law School, I want to tell you that next month, our third Friday webinar will be happening, and our speakers will come from the law school to talk about the work of the HELP Project, which is a human trafficking exploitation law project. And on our third Friday, which will happen on February 20th, we'll be having experts to talk mostly about human trafficking in the schools. And I know something came up there. So everyone stay tuned for that. Please sign up for our newsletter so you know what's happening. And Holly, Yuri, Finus, Samir, Lisa, thank you. Have a great long weekend. Celebrate justice. Revive and restore. And let's get through the rest of Human Trafficking Prevention Month, okay? All right, thank you all.